What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of a new real estate roadmap podcast. My name is Chris Cusimano, and I'm joined with who's here?
This is Alex Mandel. How's it going, everybody?
This is JD Sanchez. Hi.
Who's JD? You're not Jennifer. Doesn't sound like Jennifer. So usually we have Jennifer Konikoff with us today, but she's not feeling well. I'm actually really excited about JD coming on today because JD and I have known each other since how long now? It's been a bit.
Since I was 18, I'm not going to do the math out loud, but at least 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. And she's been a real estate agent, and we're finally collaborating, working together. And I'm really excited about that. One of the more talented, awesome people I know. And I'm really excited to break you out of your shell and try new things like podcasting and video content and all of that stuff. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome.
So do you know Alex?
I know him from watching podcasts and him doing stuff online with KW, Chart Masters and stuff, but I've never met him personally. So hi, Alex.
Howdy. Nice to meet you, finally.
So today, if you guys are wondering if you should continue listening today, so we're going to cover a couple of things. We try to mirror these podcasts to what we're talking about currently inside of the training that we're doing, the Coaching by Cusi training. And then usually shenanigans happen. So today we're going to talk about that. I'm really excited about a new launch for the coaching program in January that is designed to really take people to the next level, more hand-holding and more in-depth. And then we're going to talk about a couple other things. JD and I have a listing appointment on Friday, which I want to talk to her about, and then anything else that comes up. So, you excited?
I'm excited. JD, are you?
Alex?
Stoked.
So she's nervous. She's the first time doing this. So Alex tells me I need to ask more questions. So I'm going to focus on asking more questions because I have a tendency of talking too much.
Taking over. That's more. I know it's your show, but some people have things to say. I usually don't. I'm more of a bystander, but today, since our rambunctious Jen's in here, I have to fill in for her. Talking.
Oh yeah, you got some big shoes to fill, JD, because that girl Jen.
I'm nervous now.
That girl Jen, honestly, she's actually pretty quiet, but she does about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times during the hour, just jumps out of her shell and goes has some fun with it. But
and I'm usually just yeah. So it's okay.
All right, so it's a big balance. It's a nice balance then.
Yeah.
So, all right. So everyone listening, if you're wondering why let's talk about why we do podcast at all. Because JD might be wondering why she's sitting here too. So when it comes to real estate, you're trying to market yourself. You're trying to put yourself out there as many ways as you possibly can. And when we are sitting in a podcast setting like this and just talking about what's happening in the real estate world, we're documenting our journeys and sharing our personal journeys with other people if they want to follow along. And then on the flip side, this is also recorded, so it's on YouTube, and then we can take clips of those videos and turn them into Reels, TikToks, and all that stuff for additional content. What it also does is a nice break from the traditional day of real estate. And if I'm being honest, doing these things and meeting weekly are my most enjoyable things. It's like real estate, if we're being honest about it, and you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong, it's a pretty stressful thing.
It's stressful and can be lonely if you're not surrounded by like-minded individuals, especially if you're primarily work from home and you're not, in the office and meeting agents. It's nice to be able to collaborate like this and talk what's working, what they're seeing, so forth.
JD worked by herself for a while, so tell us about your...
The lonely thing resonates. I've been in the business over 10 years, and I kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm sick of staring at this corner in my living room. I want to be able to shoot something off somebody. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have that. And that's kind of why I decided to seek out this whole team atmosphere. Although I have to be honest, Chris was the only person's team I really cared to join. I had a couple of other friends try to, pitch me, and I was considering it, but it was the only reason why I even wanted to be on a team was because I was picking up what he was throwing down. So it is nice to talk and get answers and collaborate, and it keeps you motivated.
Oh, it totally does. If I'm going to be we can be a little vulnerable here. If we look at the data of real estate agents in general, it's less than 1% are considered successful, meaning, makes a pretty significant income. Less than 1%. And the majority of the people fall out. And a big part of that is, I would say what you guys are saying, there's a lot of stress and anxiety built inside of this business. You don't get paid in exchange for your time here. You can work your butt off for 100 hours and not see a penny. And sometimes you can just work for 3 or 4 hours, get a listing and sells it next day, and you make a lot of money. So anyways, with that said, it's like when I was working by myself a lot, there were, I wouldn't say depression, but a lot of like, loneliness, I guess. It's like, I always felt like I wanted to have someone to have my back, and I wanted to have someone else's back. Right. And I want, in real estate too, it's so competitive and so petty. And I was like, why don't we just bring really solid people together and work together? That makes sense for everyone. And I think with a lot of people, the reason they don't join the team, it's ego, because they might want to do things in their own way or figure it out themselves, which I get.
I had that.
Everyone has that, right?
I'm currently like that. That's why I won't join Chris's team.
Well, because it's not my team, that we designed it that way.
Dark side, Alex.
Yeah. But, and I think a lot of it too, people say the splits. But the way, and at least and I recognize that. And for us, I'm like, honestly, the team loses more often than it wins if you guys work the system right, and it's just hard for people to wrap their head around that because they don't hear that often. They're like, oh, I was making 95% at this shitty company where I wasn't making anything. And I was like, 95% of zero is still zero.
It's also, people don't look at their P&L. One of my buddies, he's been a real estate agent for 15, 16, 17 years. His mom was a real estate agent, and he was pretty successful, but he joined another team in their office, the Carp Group, because he doesn't have to do anything. And they take half his commission, but they pay for everything. And he doesn't have to worry about, all right, his P&L, what's this, what's that, what are the write-offs, where's this lead coming from? Joining the right team, it takes a lot of those stresses out.
Yeah, and not only financially, but that's a good point. It's the actual labor behind the thing. Like right now, as I'm talking, my wife's out. This is all she does. Most of her day is stuffing envelopes for agents. We do a series called The Great Letters, which we'll talk about in a minute. And now there's a weird thing when it comes to that. It's like, now that an agent doesn't have to do that if they were doing it at all, those like labor intensive things. But now the key to that is, what do they do with that extra time? Are they just going and hanging out and, making smoothies or playing tennis? Or are they actually building their business, leveraging that help? And that is where I think, I know from experience when I worked with other agents on the team, is they have this newfound freedom. They don't know what's really happening behind the scenes, so they might not think anything's happening. And they have all this free time that they don't use to create content, to do their daily HBCs, we call them on our team, and do the actual important things to build their businesses, create their product line and guarantees and bonuses and all that stuff. They don't do those certain things. They're like, I got this time. I'm not really sure what to do. If someone else is doing it, I'm going to go pick my nose. And that is just human nature.
I've been there. I was a buyer's agent for about 2.5 years when I first got into this business, and I relied heavily on my team leaders because they would just set appointments for me. But it was very, if they liked you, you'd get appointments, and if they didn't, you wouldn't get appointments.
I kind of get that.
That was a learning, and I wasn't even a bad agent then. It was just the team leaders. One was a dick, and the other one was an asshole. So,
where did you start, Alex? What company?
Be careful with that.
It wasn't the company that was the issue. It was the team that was there is no longer there. But it was one of the local Remaxes.
Okay. That's where I started too.
Yeah, me too. My first office was a Remax. That's funny. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. So if we look at the team, how most teams are run just like that, where they're essentially, they're just flooding their pipeline with really crap leads. And they have all these cogs, these agents who don't really have any, they don't have any really high value thing to talk about. They're not trained to how to negotiate or talk to sellers. They don't know how to provide value, right? And they're just calling, they're just calling and hoping that they get lucky. And that's why a lot of agents get burnt out, and that's why a lot of people get turned off on teams. In the structure that I have, we have in our team, it's like it's also there's pros and cons to it. The pros is that that's not that model where we grow our business with unique ways, but as the team lead or the quote unquote more productive agents on our team, we kind of have to carry the burden of the less productive agents on the team, because the resources and allocation of stuff gets spread out. And if the people aren't producing, and someone, let's just say, use my wife for example, she's putting in mailers, she's doing mailers for someone who's not producing, it does take time away from the other people. On the flip side too, if you're not just receiving leads on our model, we're teaching you how to grow your business. And that takes work. That's 6, 8, even 12 months of consistent daily effort. And to have anyone do something daily where they don't see immediate results, it's a challenge. That's like the pro and con of it. But the pro is you do things like Jenna on her team, like Marissa Holt Stella on her team, and you can see that their businesses just flourish. And the other people who that used to work with us, but so
yeah, it's definitely a way to do it. With not many teams are database. I know a few that are a little bit hybrid, where they do have ISAs and essential appointments, but they also make sure that they focus on your database. So, and then there's also agents who are strictly, all right, here's a lead, call this person, and those are for people who may be younger, they're new to the area, who don't have a database, who are very introverted. But really, you have to find what works for you, I feel like. But I know, Chris, you specifically, you have part of your training, if you're new to an area or if you don't have a database, you teach people how to kind of mine a database, and teach people how to grow it, even if you're new into the city, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's in the training. Also, if you download the app, the Coach Marcuzzi app, it's just for iPhone now. It will be on Android soon. There's a free training, even if you're not a member of the training, there is a free training in there that talks about what I'll do to get deals fast, like super fast, like step by step if I were new to an area. And that's in there for free if you want to download it and check it out, by the way. So thank you for the plug there, Alex.
You're very welcome. I feel like even if you're not new to an area, it's a great way to grow your business. If you don't have a great database, it would have been great for me when I first got into real estate. I was 22, 23. None of my database was buying houses that were still in college. So I wish you had that 11 years ago, bud.
Well, to be fair, I started out young too, man. And my business didn't really start doing well until it's funny how when you're smacked in your face with reality, that all of a sudden you turn it up a little notch, turn up a notch. And with my situation was I actually got my license in 2005, but it was the short sales, the REOs, and I would just pick up a deal here and there, just word of mouth. And then when 2011, my wife, she wasn't my wife got pregnant with her first kid, I had to figure out something else. And, so what I'm saying is, like, early on, I didn't have a big database either. And I also didn't have a lot of money. So what I did was I just focused on the people that I did know. Mm-hmm. And I leveraged Facebook a lot to grow a database through that. And if my friends were the type that I felt were ready to buy or sell a house, I still would add it to my database, but I would also ask them if I can add their parents. I'll reach out to their parents and add them as a friend and send them the mailers and stuff like that.
Is that what you did? How did you stay in front of your database?
Well, the same way I do now. It hasn't changed a lot. So
for our listeners that don't know how you do it now and you want to plug your coaching, this would be a great opportunity to do so.
Thanks, Alex. So we never had like if you can't see because if you're listening to the podcast, but we have monthly workbooks. Before the monthly workbooks, there were just pieces of paper, but we got organized. Anyways, inside of these monthly workbooks is very similar to what I did from day one. Basically, I had a daily plan where I had 300. Okay, let me break it down. I had 300 people ish that I wanted to market to, and then I had the time and the funds to market to. And I researched through reading books and stuff like that that's all you really needed to grow a business. And basically what I did was I made a list of those 300 people on an Excel sheet. And then every day I contacted 20 of them mostly on Facebook to increase the algorithm score. It's called a relevancy score. At least it used to be called a relevancy score before paid ads came around. But it's another combo. Anyway, so what would happen is that you're forced to hit all your people. If you think about it, 20 people a day, that's 100 a week. So even if you missed a couple of days, every month you reached out on social media to people on your list. And then what happened as a byproduct was that your algorithm, your relevancy score, your algorithm score with those people goes up. So the more you interact with people, the more you interact with you, the more you see their stuff, the more they see yours. And then I'll make sure I posted a lot about everything. Like I'm constantly posting and about real estate, my family, my dogs, whatever is going on in my life at that time. I'm pretty much documenting my journey.
What will be something
really
you'll speak to these people? I feel like it'd be a little difficult to have random conversations, or at least in my mindset, having 20 random conversations with 20 random people every single day.
Yeah, no, it's actually, go ahead, JD.
They're not random, right? These are people
Right.
that you're friends with somewhat. There's something you can say to them or comment on something that they're posting about.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay.
So, so not everyone posts. So sometimes I'll just shoot them a message. Hey, haven't seen much of you on social media. What's new? Is everything good? Hope everything's okay. Stuff like that. And they don't always reply, they don't always reply. So then, inside of the workbook, I have every week, I would send out 5 note cards, and there's different strategies behind that. So I'll hit people in the mail. And then when I started encompassing, it wasn't called the great letters now. And since we're talking about the great letters, and I know, Alex, you want me to ask more questions. So where do I stop and ask a question here?
JD, what's something that you do to stay in front
There
of
you
it?
Okay. There you go, JD. What's something you do?
Oh, I'm following this. I was kind of like that. I had the mindset before where I was like, I'm good at real estate. I know what I'm doing. Why do I need to be posting on Facebook? Like, I'm a good agent. Like, that's all you need. That's all. But they don't know that because I'm not posting.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. I don't want to call it an ego hit, but it was one of those, like, I didn't want to succumb to the fact that I needed to start doing more social media because I thought I was good at my job. And then I'm like, well, a big part of my job is marketing. I have to market your property. So if I can't market myself, how am I supposed to be marketing your property?
Yep.
So I kind of had that aha moment of, all right, I need to become a lot more relevant on social media because I kind of posted just something that I wanted to remind me of later. And I have been doing that a lot. I've been commenting on people's posts where normally I would just scroll on by. If I know that somebody does something, like let's say I was looking for somebody to cut my hair because my hairstylist left. Well, let me look at someone that's on my Facebook and reach out to them and see if they know somebody. So
everybody has an opinion, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to use them and what they're good at. If I need somebody to trim a tree, let me look into who these people are and let them do my service so that they think of me as well. So,
and how do you feel like your engagement on your personal post do you feel like you've seen any sort of uptick in engagement from this strategy?
I have. And I never knew what the goal number was. I was always like, oh, if I get 100 likes, I feel like I'm so popular. And I'm seeing I got 300 on something. I don't think I'd ever gotten 300 on anything.
That's amazing.
In all the years that I've been on Facebook. So, and again, I don't know what the goal numbers are. I know that for me, though, I've seen the growth. So
more.
Progress is
Right?
More, yeah.
That's the goal is more.
Facebook is super weird. Actually, all those companies, there'll be times where you'll do a great post and you get nothing. And sometimes you just did you thought it was an and then you get swamped. And it's just, I don't know how it totally works. But it's just weird. Yeah, you're just a lot of people who are seeing your stuff, they're not even commenting on that at all. But they're still triggered an algorithm. So if someone, JD, and anyone else listening, is like, if you see a post on Facebook or even Instagram, and someone just slows down scroll or reads a little bit, the algorithm's picking that up. They're like, this person's spending time on this person's post, even though they're not interacting. So
I had a great post that I did. I did just sold, but nowhere in the post did it actually say just sold. Maybe in the picture it said that, but I told the entire story of how I met my client and everything that went along with it. And I got the most engagement on the just sold just from the fact that people sat there and read probably 3-4 paragraphs of this whole story that of how I met them, what the sale of their condo meant to them, what the purchase of their next home meant to them, and how I got the buyer, and just the whole story is really what sold it. And I want to say I got like 10x of engagement just on that one post on
How did you
Facebook and
capture
Instagram.
them to want to read the whole thing? Because I always feel like if it's too lengthy, I'm going to lose them.
What
It was
does
a
it matter?
test. I just tested it, but it seemed to have worked. It was probably 3 or 4 paragraphs.
Yeah, that's actually one of the strategies I used to always do. I used to always tell stories about closings.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed, I don't know, good for you for yours, Joel. I noticed that the algorithm or the interest of them started waning over time. I'm not sure why. So I stopped.
You
And
can
then
start getting
I actually,
boring.
yeah, maybe I didn't ask enough questions. And,
Well,
and then, but then I posted one yesterday about a condo because the condo numbers came out and the condo numbers didn't look good. And I'm like, this is a good way to segue. The condo numbers not doing good, but we sold this condo. And this is actually how I met these people, this, that, and the other. 2 likes. It's weird. So
I don't know if
I
you
don't
guys
know.
can see it, but there was this. I also like to break it up. So it's not always a paragraph. It's usually like a sentence or two, and then I break it up. I like to post the way that I read. So I feel like that has a lot to do with it. If you just post 2, 3 full paragraphs, then that's not going to work. But people's attention spans are just so squirrely.
Mm-hmm. You ever do
I,
those? Oh, sorry, JD. Go ahead.
I was just say, I think what I've come to realize is just don't overthink it and just
Yeah.
almost like quantity, just post and post. And if
Mm-hmm.
you continue to do it, a numbers game, enough of them will actually hit and enough of them will get a positive feedback to keep you relevant. And it's like,
Story sell.
do it.
That's what I look at it. Story sell. Everybody wants to feel involved, right? That's why the behind the scenes type footage on social media does so well. If you look at like TikTok and Instagram, these big brands that are doing social media well, they're not selling the product. They're just talking about what they do on a day to day. So if somebody can sit there and read my day to day of what got me to the closing table, then I feel like it does so much better. So my strategy for 2025 is gonna be more behind the scenes.
Where storytelling is key. I actually bought a book about storytelling. Storytelling is absolutely huge. But when you tell a story like you did, Alex, you're actually elevating your brand,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of who you are, what type of person you are. That's your brand. And branding, the whole point behind it, branding is try to get people to change their behavior when they think about you. So when you're telling more stories about who you are, you kind of give them like behind the scenes, their behavior or their perception of you is going to change, but not all the same, but they're going to change in more or less a positive way. And there's real science and data behind this. We teach this in one of our, I think my Holy Grail class, where they had done studies and they look back all the way back through, caveman times, cavewoman for JD. And they would say the more you see someone's face, the more important that person is, at least perceptually to you. And so we could see it with celebrities and politicians and all that. They don't necessarily say or do anything important or of context, but if someone sees someone over and over and over again, their perception of value increases. Um, and they believe that, well, some of the studies believe that could have went back down to the caveman days or even whatever, Viking days and villagers, whatever. When you saw maybe there's like 30 or 40 villagers, whatever, you saw the same people over and over again, those people are directly responsible for your survival. So they elevated their importance and they feel that might have carried over to today. And with social media and leveraging the systems you were talking about earlier and getting in front of just your 300 people over and over again and telling your brand and telling your story, perceptually speaking, you are elevating your importance to them.
Yeah,
And what's
actually saw some.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll keep going forever. You know that.
All right. So I saw something. Ryan Serhant. Everybody knows, famous real estate agent, Netflix and everything. He has a whole strategy behind being seen by everybody in different platforms. So he says for the moms, the housewives, he's on Netflix. He has this $9 listing for show on Netflix. For the husbands and the dads, he's on CNBC, Fox, and for the kids, he's on social media. So when they're sitting at the dinner table, the mom or the wife will say, "Oh, we should hire Ryan Serhant. He's on Netflix to sell our property," and the dad will say, "Oh yeah, I just saw him on CNBC this morning. He really knows what he's talking about." And they're like, and the kid will say, "Wait, Ryan Serhant? I love his social media." right?
Yeah.
It's like being in all those different platforms for different types of people and being seen everywhere.
It's being everywhere. I get asked that a lot. Actually, it's funny. We went to the Great Wolf Lodge this weekend, and one of my clients, Dan, happened to be there. One of my first clients, and he was like, "Dude, I can't be on social media like you. I can't have my stuff out there." And he was just like, "But I'm really impressed with what you're doing. It's super important. If I ever sell my house, I'm calling you." And I'm like, "Do you see why I do it, Dan? You
Uh-huh.
just said exactly why I do it, because you don't know what my business looks like or anything about it. You just see me a lot, so that elevated my importance. It is, and anyway. So that was just a
Works.
real story. It works. It
And
works.
I'm sure there'd be a benefit of you doing more storytelling, especially since your tagline is, you're friendly. Having those stories of what you did that's so friendly. Like, imagine me going up to be like, yeah, I'm a really cool guy.
Trust me.
Prove it.
Yeah, right. Or I'm very smart. Right. What makes you smart? Tell me a story. So I feel like if you do more friendly stuff, and I know you're super friendly with your family, you that's kind of your thing. Is your 5 kids, your wife, your dogs. But talking more about what you did for clients or even other real estate agents, it'll definitely take that perception of, wow, Chris really is friendly. He's a great guy. I still haven't seen it, but he's not bad.
Well, the tagline works. You know it. What's your tagline?
The key to your next home. It's not as good, but
Yeah, not even close.
wow, I know. What are they?
Do you want to know what mine was?
Oh yeah, sorry, JD, you're here too. My apologies.
I'm helping you make the right move.
Helping you make the right move. I like it. How? What's your story behind that?
I just liked it. I did work with investors for a while, so it was also kind of like, let me help you pick the right property. But it was also just so many other things are taken. We're left with scraps sometimes.
So what? I'm sure there's somebody that has the key to your next home. I saw a household name and I was like, damn.
Yeah, but the whole point of the tagline is to get people to elicit a feeling and have them again change behavior. All branding is having to change their behavior. Of my electrician came and did work on my house the other day, and he must have said like 4 times, "Oh, the friendly guy. Oh, you're the friendly realtor. The friendly." You know what I mean? And I know people have different ideas about it. Some people say it's corny, it's stupid. We had a guest recently said it was dumb, but everyone remembers it, and So I feel like when I see, and I could be wrong, I don't know everything, but when I see like things like, picture it sold or stuff like that, I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
does it really like change how people feel about you? Does that stand out, or is that more self-serving? I feel like your tagline should be in a way to elicit a positive reaction when people read it, even if they think it's corny or not. They feel good, like, okay, I can call this guy, he's friendly. You know what I mean?
All right, I'm gonna call this the key to my next home.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm not saying it's wrong. I could be wrong. That's just how I looked at it.
No, I think it's kind of like bad publicity is still publicity. Like, even if somebody thinks it's cheesy, the fact that they remember it, like, think of some of like these stupid commercials that like we grew up with. Pizza. Like, there's just so many things that, like, when you think of the pizza, you think of the jingle or so.
In Philadelphia, up for Philadelphia on 95, there is a giant billboard, and it's been there since I was a kid, so 30 years. It says, it's black billboard with white scratch lettering. I hate StevenSinger.com.
Oh, yeah, Steven Singer.
Everybody knows that billboard. And I just found out a few years ago I think he's a jeweler or something.
Yeah, he's a jeweler. Yeah.
But everybody knows I hate Steven Singer. Maybe
and your wife is hot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one too.
So when I guarantee you, when they did those things, like when Steven Singer or the air conditioning people did, your wife is hot, I bet you there were people initially you're like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. It's someone overrode them who are smarter, in my opinion, and like, no, we're doing this because people are going to remember it.
Alex Mandel, the worst realtor.
Well, your tagline is pointless. No one remembers it.
Yeah.
you know? And if it's so generic, like, I don't know, putting the
Yeah.
best roof over your head or something stupid. I don't know. It's like, no one's going to remember it. So what's the point? Your
Yeah.
tagline has to be memorable, and it has to make people feel something.
It's all
And
And I
let
know
me
marketing.
it's,
And
a cool name. Like I wish I had a cool name that I could use for my business. Like when I first started, I worked for Morgan Stanley. I was a financial advisor, and my boss's name was Larry Goldstock. Can you imagine selling stocks and your last name is Goldstock?
I know.
Like it's a slam dunk.
That's probably why
yeah.
he picked that career.
I bet you
Mhm.
he did. It was kind of like, where do I have a leg up? Oh, my last name. That's what I'm going to do. And he was great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I guess for agents listening, if you're going to create a tagline, you know,
Have a
just
good last name first.
have a good last name.
Change your name.
Yeah. To instead of JD Sanchez, JD sells homes. That should be your last name.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, we need to talk about this listing appointment on Friday. I know it's not the best setting for it. We have a very interesting listing appointment, and that very rare that we go to where we're going in blind. We don't know the person, and they don't know us. How'd you get that appointment, JD?
I have a buddy of mine who owns a landscaping company, and he does his landscaping. And he had the property on the market. It didn't sell, and they were just having conversation. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna give your number to my good friend, and she's gonna call you." So I did. So I've never met the guy. He only like texted me back and was very like short and curt and set up the appointment. So
High
yeah,
D.
I don't know what I'm walking into.
He's high D.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Straight to the point. No bullshit. Doesn't need all the details. But he might be a DC. It's hard to tell because the DCs like details, but they like them quickly. We have to talk about. We have to finish our meeting yesterday. We started prepping on it, and it was actually a really unique listing opportunity where there's not a ton of activity around there for that type of property in North Deerfield, southeast Boca, right north of the Deerfield Pier. So yeah, it's a very unique one where it was hard to comp out, and it didn't sell before, and we don't know who this guy is. He doesn't know us. I'm not used to that.
Me either.
My
Are you gonna
systems
do
are
the
usually
picture?
like,
Been somebody I know, or at least talked on the phone. They, you kind of get a vibe.
yeah,
Yeah, no rapport.
yeah. And pricing is going to be hard.
Do that you usually do with your listing appointments, where you're gonna tour the property, do the comps in person, or because I know you kind of do everything through video, right? Since
Who, me
it's
or
not,
JD?
well, Chris or JD, I don't know.
No,
What
I'm
you
be let me show up at your house and do a tour, kind of old school. That's more. I want to know what I'm working with, but I've started doing the video listing presentations for a lot of reasons. I see the value in them, but I'm definitely still prone to the let me tour the property and get in front of you. I do better face to face.
Yeah. My last two that I sent out last week, actually, neither one of them watched the video. They told me, and because how you know is they'll ask questions. They ask questions, and I'm like, well, they definitely didn't watch it. And at the end of each one, I would do something like, I had a glue stick here for it. It's not here anymore, but I had a glue stick, and I'm like, this is my test to see if you watched the end. Text me the word glue stick, and I knew you watched all the way to the end. And I did for both of them. Neither one text that, you know. So, but I might. By the way, that's not often. Most people do watch it when they do, and they usually write back like, "Oh my god, that thing's amazing." So if you guys are new here, let me give you a little breakdown. And I'm scared to get in my tangents because I just hear Alex's brain going. Shut up. Okay, so the reason why I started doing the video listing presentations, which we teach in our course, by the way, I started doing those really. Actually, I started dabbling in it before COVID because I had many kids and it was just hard to get out. But I really leaned into it during COVID when we, for obvious reasons. And the real listing presentations that you would do in person, except I recorded them. I use a software called Camtasia for that. You can use whatever you want to use. And I'll show the slides and the data and why I think this is this and this and this. And what's really powerful about it is that they can now see like how you got to where you got and why you got to where you got and what data sources you used. And then they can pause it. They can replay it. They can send it to their aunt who's a realtor in Nebraska to review it. right? They don't have to clean their house for you. They don't have to worry about their kids. You don't have to come after hours when they're home from work and they're stressed out, right? So the process with that is a pretty simple process. They usually say, "Hey, you want to come see the house?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Before I do that, I'm gonna do some full analysis on your house. Just do me a favor. It takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do. Only tell me you will watch it if you will watch it, because if not, I won't spend my time on it. Like, what do you mean? And I explain what it is. Oh yeah, I'll definitely watch it. So you kind of already anchored that in. And then I do the presentation, and the presentation is catered to their personality type. Like, there's a whole, you can do 45 minutes or you can do 15 or 20, depending on, who they are. Analyticals, high D's, high I's, etc.
15 of
And
them
it works
are.
out great. Works out great.
That's,
So, you okay, Alex? You look bored.
no, my accountant texted me, so always gotta respond to that.
You're broke.
I know, it's all they're reaching me out. Reach out to me.
So,
No, that's a great system, and obviously, not a lot of people do that. But it seems to work well. Did those two people from last week that didn't watch it? Did they sign with you? Did they not? Did they just like your
man,
marketing? Do you remember?
one, I really don't want to say anything really too much. He's in a situation where he just doesn't have money to sell. You know what I mean? Like, he bought at a price, it's going to sell at that price. He has no money. He's actually refinancing his mortgage just to push back his mortgage payment 2 months. He's broke. And so he has no equity, nothing. And he basically wants me to do it for free. And I said, even if I did it for free, you're still going to lose money. And then I showed him how much. And that was the end of it. I haven't heard back from him.
For sure.
So, yeah, because I was like, there's closing costs, there's doc stamps. It's Broward County, so you might pay title policy if they check that box. There's title fees and estoppels and lien searches that cost money.
Right.
And then you have to pay the buyer's broker. Even if you're not paying me, we don't have to. But typically, I recommend that you pay a buyer's broker, and this is roughly what I believe it would be for you to get a buyer broker to want to sell your house. And I broke it down, and then he just ghosted me. So anyways, to that one, he just doesn't have any money.
Yeah,
And I don't mind helping people, but to a point, like, I'm not going to lose money.
Yeah.
Well, depends on the situation, but it's not a good business practice to go and sell houses to lose money. But anyways, it's a business too. And the other one, what's the other one? Oh yeah, the other one, yeah, it's pretty much done. But what he did was actually pretty funny. He texted me, and it was like, let's just skip to the chase, Chris. I know a lot of people in real estate. This is not my first real estate rodeo. What's your best charge? What's your best fee that you can charge me? What's the cheapest you can do? And what's really good about my system is I have my menu and I have my guarantees, and I have them saved in my favorite folder on my phone. I texted them to him, and I said, these are my range of services. Let me know which one you want to talk about. And then he came back. He goes, okay, fine. And he picked one. So, you know what I mean? So that's what's really good about having a good product that you can just text back. Right? And then because he looks at it, he's like, oh, because most real estate agents go be like, yeah, I'll do it for less, because they turn themselves into a commodity. Right. So, and we teach you how to do that too, by the way.
Yeah, as long as you're able to show your value, and if you have things in that menu that are so different than the normal, you definitely want to make sure that the consumer, the seller, understands what it is. I just ran into that issue last week myself, and they asked my fee, and I knew that they didn't watch my video that I have.
Yep.
B, didn't look at the PDF that was attached to that email because it had my marketing menu. And I'm like, I'm going to call you tomorrow after you've taken 5 minutes to go watch my video, because my video just talks about my marketing. It doesn't talk about their actual property. It's pre-recorded. She said, okay. So I called her the next day. Did you watch it? Yes. Which one? The middle one. Great.
Yeah. So, you present. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You presented what your offer is. So that's the thing. Is like, you don't need to name your price if you haven't even made an offer yet. Like, you know what I mean? So that's why when you see those infomercials, they go, "But wait, there's more." They do there first. They anchor a price. They're like,
Uh-huh.
"These magical paper towels are $9.99." Right? They anchor the price, and then they add the value later on. But if you didn't even watch the infomercial, and you didn't even see what the offer is, how can you add? There's no reason to give a price.
Right.
So a tip for agents out there is if you build your good product line, your menu of services that really stand out, and you have that available, and they haven't even reviewed that or even know what it is, and they immediately go, "What's your fee?" You immediately go, "I haven't even made you my offer yet. Do you want to
Uh-huh.
see it? And do you want to see what my offer is?"
They
And
use
there's a couple,
your exact script for the rebuttal.
pretty much. It depends on the demeanor and the mood of the conversation, but yeah, pretty much. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't even made you my offer. I haven't even gave you my offer. I can't give you my price. Well, what do you
It's
mean?
kind of like you tell me.
Yep.
Like, how much am I charging? You tell me. These are your options. You tell me what I'm charging you. What do you want?
Uh-huh.
Exactly it.
And we're definitely getting more power back now because we went through a phase where, yeah, a lot of properties you could just throw them up on the MLS and marketing wasn't important. And, that's where they got the who can do it for less mindset. Where
Ah,
now,
they got that.
yeah, now you have to, you need the value of an agent that knows how to market, and you need more
Uh-huh.
because there's, six in a community that aren't selling. So why is yours going to sell before theirs? You can't just throw it up anymore.
No, you can't just throw it up. You have to be aggressively priced, and there's pricing strategies involved in there too. But when I think an issue that actually it haunted me for a while too, and tell me if you guys are the same, is when people ask me that question for a while. When I first really started getting in the business, I didn't really have any real rebuttal because it was like I didn't have any way to answer that question other than what they taught you in the scripts, which are just bullshit scripts. If I'm being honest with you, like if you have if you have clout and credibility in a solid product that you back with guarantees and bonuses, and you can present that to people, you don't need a script. You just need to have an honest heart-to-heart conversation, and you need to stick to your guns. Because what happens is if someone goes, "What's your fee? What's your fee? What do you charge?" and you immediately go, "Oh, I'll do it for this."
Uh-huh.
There's a couple things that should be very alarming to that seller. One, you can't negotiate, which is what they're hiring you to do, right? So, and the other thing, you're teaching them that your prices are negotiable and that you don't value what you're offering to them, right? So it puts you in a sense, in a state of weakness. And there's nothing wrong with your seller being in a state of strength, but you need to be in a state of strength too, because that's what they're hiring us to be. They're hiring us to be the leader, to take
Yep.
on this project for them and be strong about it. And if you can't be strong on that question in your own value, why the hell would they hire? Like, why would they hire that?
Uh-huh. Now you're just an
Personally,
order taker.
yeah, you're just an order taker. You're just an order taker. I'm doing a deal right now with another agent where I love the guy. He's a super cool guy. Can't negotiate for shit. You know what I mean? He just doesn't have that skill. And what he told me on the phone was when we're going back and forth on something, he goes, "Yeah, well, you and I, we just spread messages back and forth." And I didn't argue with him, but I couldn't disagree. I couldn't disagree more with that. You know?
Uh-huh. Well, it is what it is. But now you see what the value of other agents are. They can. It makes you feel better because you know that you're doing a better job.
Alex, you're out of it today, bro. What's up? You're
It's
like,
about that
so
time.
it's
The
about that time.
accountant's next. That accountant gave him some bad news.
About that time. Yeah, I owe her $300.
Oh, really? It doesn't automatically get taken
Yeah.
out.
Uh, Zeller.
Oh, I don't even want to see it. It just goes out. Mine is 300
Yeah.
bucks a month too. Yeah, if you guys are running a real business, you should have a accountant going over your numbers and giving you your P&Ls every month, and it should be at 30%. By the way,
Mhm.
uh, I know you got to go. We're wrapping up here. I really wanted to talk about the great letters, but this conversation, well, we can do that next week or later on. But I think this would be a very powerful thing to talk about because we're talking about negotiations in general. And I was just telling the team about this the other day, and I think this would be powerful for people. It's like when you're in a conversation. Ironically, Alex called me out on this, but when you're in a conversation where you're trying to persuade them, or not even persuade, or maybe you know move the conversation along, which makes more sense. it's all about asking questions. The person asking questions is the person asking questions is the person in control. So what I used to do when I go on listing appointments and they'll just ask me questions and I would just answer it. And I didn't realize that I was taking away their perception of power that, of me. Like they're now looking down on me where they're just drilling me with questions and I'm just answering like an order taker. Right. Now I've learned that you answer everything but with a question, and it keeps you guys on even keel. It keeps you in a powerful state, which is what they want from you. So for example, like we just said, what's your fee? Like, I don't know. I haven't made my offer to you yet. Do you want to see it? Instead of saying, here's my list, you choose. That's what I used to say. Right. And they were like, I don't know, give me any objection. They would just go back. Do you do a lot of work in this area, in this neighborhood? And I'll just say, I'll answer something like, I've done work everywhere, but tell me why that's important to you. You know what I mean? Before I was like, no, but I'll figure it out or whatever, like that's what I used to do. And maybe you guys can relate. I don't know, give me another objection. I come up with questions for all of them.
What should I list my house at?
Well, that's a little different because you usually have that conversation. But no, I do ask that. I had a listing appointment yesterday for Boca Chica. And actually in that situation, I asked him. I said, I'm like, hey, before we get started, your condo is a little interesting and hard to comp out. What do you think you're going to get for it? Right. And then that sets the stage. Yeah. Well, sometimes they do that. He goes, what is it?
Time for me.
No, really? They're like, well, you tell me. I'm like, well, that's why I'm here. However, sometimes people have a number in mind and I want to see if I want to get it to that number. Is that fair? See how I end it? Is that fair? It's super powerful to always end in questions. Just not in podcasts when I don't ask any, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
You say the best listeners are the people that are the best talkers, are the ones that are actually listening.
People always say, I had such a great date. They asked so many great questions. They were inquisitive. They cared. It wasn't just them talking about themselves on a podcast for an hour.
Today.
Well, so I got called out, so I have to do one last thing.
No, sorry. So before, we got to give context. Before we started this podcast, Alex was like, he's like, dude, you need to ask more questions. You got to ask more questions. And I'm like, you're probably right. But I had, when I was,
let's give the whole story. You said, thank you. You were concerned about bringing guests on because you don't want there to be a lot of dead air. So I feel like I have to, fill that dead air. And I said, great way to do this is instead of talking about what you do, ask them what they do and ask them questions, because that will make more guests want to come on the podcast instead of, let me go to somebody that I can't get a word in. Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember a few weeks ago, we had a awesome gentleman who gave us a lot of great knowledge, but there wasn't a lot of banter back and forth.
Correct.
And we kind of felt alienated from that. And I understand, it's not the best when you can't get a word in, even if it's your own podcast or it's your guest. It's people listen to these for the banter. Correct. As well as the knowledge.
No, you're right. You said it exactly right. With me, it was like, I'm always worried that it will get boring with too much dead air, right? So when it gets quiet for a minute, I'm like, is anyone going to chime in here? And I kind of wait a couple seconds and no one does. And I feel like I just have to go. And because I do have these thoughts in my head that I want to share, it's like a battle, right? Like, okay, do I keep it to myself? What happens here? Is anyone else going to say anything?
You can always reword your thought into a question.
Okay. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you do the great letter sequence?
No. JD, do you?
I do.
You do. Tell me, JD, please tell me more about him.
It was just, there were letters that we had to write, and there's 8 of them. That's why it's called Great.
Uh-huh.
And then Kenna, Chris's lovely wife, mails them all out for us.
What did these letters say?
I wish I remember, because I'm working on my soap operas now, and that's all my mind can remember now.
Yeah, those are hard.
The great letters are just, it's kind of like how you got into the business.
That's
Chris,
cool.
you can chime in now because
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know the answer, but should I say it
say
or?
it because I actually don't remember what I wrote on them.
That's fine. It's okay if
Okay.
you don't. I think.
All right. Here we go, Alex. You ready
Thank you.
for it?
Yes, Chris, can you tell me about these great letters?
Okay. So, yes, every week the coaching students I walk them through different processes of things we do in our business. And right now we're covering what's called great letters. They are physical letters that look way different than any other real estate marketing. It's a series of 8 letters spread out over the course of a year. And once a year, we send them. Sit down for 3 days, organize it, and then it's set and forget for the rest of the year. It's an intensive 3 days. Anyways, so there's 8 letters, and I don't want to, for the sake of boring people, I'm not going to go through all of them. But basically, we start with what's called a magnet letter. There's a whole philosophy behind that magnet letter, and then we do a value gift letter, which I call home bot letter for number 2. Number 3 is our menu, which we spoke about today. Number 4 is our guarantees. Number 5 is we tell our story, our brand about who we are, our family, our life. Number 6, it's I advertise the VIP page on Facebook, which is another conversation for another day. Number 7, I talk about all these extra really cool programs that we offer them, just in case the standard selling of real estate is not for them. And number 8 is the ask. Ask is just straight up asking for their business. So you do a whole series of letters, and then it builds up to finally asking for business on the 8th letter. What's really cool about these letters, not only that they're like that no one is doing that stuff. Most marketing that you see on for real estate agents are just sold, just listed, Debbie does it again, blah, 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 right? Market updates, and people just throw that shit away. And but here it's actually every time they get a letter, it's designed for them to know that it's not going to be that same old stuff. And the reason why is at the end of each letter, it tells them to look out for the next letter and what color envelope it will be in. So for the first one, it'll say, P.S. Next week, I'm going to send you something cool for free. Keep an eye out for it, or whatever. Your next mailer's going to, I'm going to send you something. Next time, I'm going to send you something cool for free. Keep an eye out for it. It comes in a purple envelope. And the reason why we do it like that is that now they're going to be looking every time they see something purple. The idea is that they're going to be thinking of you up until that point, and they're going to be wondering what's in this purple envelope, and they're going to be looking for a purple envelope every time they go to the mailbox. And when they're thinking about this, they're thinking of you. What is Chris? What is JD? What is Alex sending me that's going to be in a purple envelope? And when is this thing going to come? Right? And that we do that throughout the whole thing. And those are the great letters. So we covered the first 4 letters this week. We're covering the next 4 letters next week.
And that's in your coaching?
Yes, sir.
Where can people find your coaching?
coachingbycusi.com. coachingbycusi.com, which we're revamping. I'm really excited for a brand new launch in January. Super, super dope.
Another one, they did not just do a relaunch, but what are you relaunching now?
Kind of. How do I say this? We were testing the waters in different things, and I think we figured out the best way to serve as many people as possible by what I want to do. Since you asked the question, I'm going to answer it. Is I want to bring people in, like a core group of real estate agents. Actually, we're going to do that, and twice a week for 3 months, we're going to go step by step by step, like really in depth, just a core small group of real estate agents, and just walk them through the process and handhold them. And at the end of that 3 months, they have a very robust, exciting, innovative business that is just a copycat of what I created over the years, that doesn't rely on cold calling and door knocking. And we're launching this new way of doing it in January. So the overall product and stuff is relatively the same. It's the deliverability in the close, tight-knit community and working hand in hand with agents more closely is where the big change happens, and that starts in January. I'm excited.
Sounds exciting.
I think so.
People just have to follow it. It's definitely it's like you're leading a horse to water, but you can't make him drink kind of mindset. You're giving them all the tools, and if you follow it, you're gonna make it. It's gonna work.
Chris, how much is your coaching? It's relatively cheaper than most other courses that are not as in depth as yours is, right?
Well, thank you for asking. We are changing that model too, but as of now, it's $75 a month.
Wow. And when is it going up and by how much?
I love you having very robotic questions. Um, so we don't have the pricing. The coaching thing is going to be is not going to be cheap because it's a very significant amount of my time, and it's only going to be, I don't know, 20, 25 people, including previous clients can also jump in there as well, so that they get grandfathered in. So I don't know what it's going to be. Um, so by the way, get
End
grandfathered in.
of the
Sign up
year
now.
sale. Yeah, let's get an end of the year sale going.
Yeah, sign up now and get grandfathered in.
Yep.
But we're going to do 2 levels. One level is that what we just talked about, and the next level is just this self-driven, on-demand, where you just move at your own pace. No community coaching, no physical books like here. It's all digital. You move at your own pace in the way you want to do it without the community and physical books, and that's going to probably be, I don't know, it's probably going to stay the same as $75 a month, right? Except we're taking the community coaching from that level, doubling down in that community for level 2.
Wow. It's exciting, actually.
I think it's dope.
Alex,
Wow.
have you done any of the meetings? Have you done any of the live trainings?
Some of them when I can get to them, but they're great.
It's a nice collaboration.
It is.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, well, there's
All right. So we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank JD for your first time joining us.
you did
Thank you for having
amazing.
me.
Thank
It
Thank
was,
you for
it was
coming.
easy.
It's just conversation.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes are kind of like, you know,
Figuring it out.
and then afterwards you're like, oh, I'm just having a conversation with people.
Yeah, the shit in the shed.
And to be fair, Alex usually has a lot more energy in these things. So I'm gonna pull him
I
over.
was a lot more energized than I usually am, but okay,
And
whatever.
then I'm gonna have a little talk with you after. See, make sure my boy's okay.
I mean, let's make sure we have a more positive conversation before, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah, we had a little powwow before, but personal stuff. You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that. Anyways, he doesn't want to share that publicly. Maybe later on in our journey, but not anytime soon. All right, guys. So you find JD Sanchez where? Where they find you, girl?
Instagram.
Online, just look up JD at Homes by Cusi.
JD. Oh, it's
Letter
Kuzi.
J, letter D, like Jack Daniels.
Love it.
Yep. And I'm Alex Mandel. You can find me at Alex Mandel Homes on Instagram.
All right. We will see you around JD. Before when we exit here, do not turn off your browser for a little bit. You gotta leave it on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.